That's a nice pronunciation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's always a bit of a dubious honor to close the conference, so to speak. Thank you to the organization for having so much trust in my speaking skills to keep you all very much attractive to the presentation. The presentation is all about online equity financing, because we all know if we want to succeed in our entrepreneurial endeavors, there's one thing pretty much certain. We're gonna need to have some cash in order to invest in our business idea, in our newly founded venture. And sometimes we do this by ourselves. Sometimes we attract angel investors, VC, private equity. And now I'm going to present to you a whole new asset class which can be used to fund entrepreneurial endeavors. But let's start by the beginning, and let me take you back to 2008, because 2008, my place in the hierarchy was actually here. Entrepreneur having an idea in search of capital. And I was looking right at the equity gap, the lack of $40 billion US on an annual basis of funding which isn't going to new and early stage ventures. And this has everything to do with the fact that banks don't provide capital to risky businesses anymore. We all know, does anybody know Basel? The Basel III recognition by the European Central Bank? Yeah. In Holland, most SME entrepreneurs who go into a bank, and that's 97% of all the SME entrepreneurs in search of capital, go to their bank. And after 3 weeks of negotiations, you know what they get to hear from their account manager? We're really sorry, sir, madam, we cannot grant you that loan due to Basel III. Those people end up on our platform, and they talk to us about their frustrations in their financial processings. And they basically say, Korstiaan, with all due respect, Basel is the city we drive through when we go on winter sport. I do not know what Basel implies or what it has to do with my funding needs or the fact that I don't get funding. Furthermore, we see some other trends. Business angels, less capital due to the financial crisis, but they're also very hard to reach. Who knows a business angel? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, all right, of course, sirs, welcome. All right, so 7 connections to business angels. That's kind of disappointing on Global Entrepreneurship Week. That means that there's a not sufficient amount of capital to spur all our innovations, either being here in Greece or being set out into the world as a born global. So financing is increasingly important. If we're talking about venture capital, or at least the non-existing venture capital industry in Europe, especially if we compare it to the US venture capital industry, which plays a major part in funding, or at least post-funding these opportunities. Normally what you see is a small round by business angels or a small seed fund that puts in some money, and then you see the big guys taking over. We saw a couple of those names coming by. But in general, these guys are not that interested in SMEs, in small and medium-sized enterprises, because the hockey stick is lacking in our revenue projections. It's kind of clear, right? We're a startup. What do you expect? Of course I can talk to VCs all day and tell them, in 7 years, my revenues will be here, off the scale. But right now, I just need money into the business, and they don't provide it. Getting to the next point on this slide, which has everything to do with that fact. If I, with my business ID, 28 years old, coming into the office of a venture capitalist and start talking about, really talking about my innovation, about the product, not about the financial side, all of a sudden the conversation goes sideways. They're interested, they like the idea, there we go, all right. And then comes the inevitable question, how are you gonna make money and when are you break even? Leads to the belief that attracting capital is much more a function of a network and having the certain administrative skills. And we as an entrepreneur, we don't want to be in school. We want to sell our products. We want to make turnover. We want to make revenue. We don't want to be fed up with administrative services. We don't want to become the accountant of our own business in order to secure sufficient funding. So, providing you here with the context where I was in '08. And in '08, I joined a startup software company in Rotterdam. Small company, seven persons, and we were coding a model-driven development platform. Kind of technical. Let's not go into details, but the premise of the potential for a global market was there. We grew that company within 3 years to over 120 people with a headquarters in Boston. They're currently venture-backed. But in '08, the company was only arousing my interest in the domain of entrepreneurship. And I have a background in business administration and sociology. So I decided to do an MBA. An MBA, Entrepreneurship and New Business Venturing on the Rotterdam School of Management. And the first day of the curriculum, we were in such a venue. There were 100 people from all around the globe, all with a profound interest in entrepreneurship. And the professor stood in front of the class and basically asked, all right, guys, who wants to be an entrepreneur? 100 hands. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. 9 months later, the official curriculum ended. All right, guys, same question. Who actually became an entrepreneur? You did 9 months of my courses. You had hands-on advice from professionals. I introduced you to the venture capital industry, albeit very little in Holland. But yet again, you have access to capital. You had access to patents being developed on universities throughout Holland. Technical University of Delft is one of the major hubs in creating new knowledge in the Netherlands. So, and we had access to these patents, and we were actually developing business plans during these courses. Unfortunately, or do we want to guess how many people actually started their own business from that course? 2. All right. 10. It was far more disappointing. Indeed, it was none. Yeah. That was like wah, 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 for the entrepreneurship program on the Rotterdam School of Management. So we started figuring out what our peers were actually looking for. And when we started talking to these guys, their capital needs were not in the hundreds of millions or tens of millions or not even above $1 million. We're talking about simple seed capital, up to 150K to develop the actual concept they had concepted during their studies. So they were not able to secure seed funding. And what you see then is people who were actually educated in becoming an entrepreneur on one of the most renowned institutes in Europe, basically taking the sidetrack to the big corporations. Arguing, I have a girlfriend, she doesn't want to live in my dorm anymore, I hate buses, I hate trains, I just want a car, and the fastest track to get that is with ABN AMRO Bank, ING, or another big corporate. So basically they all fled their entrepreneurial dream. And we thought there is something there which we are missing. And what we were missing is actually on the second row right in front of you. It's an iPad or an iPhone. Social media, in short. All these people were connected. During those 9 months of courses, I think half of their time actually was spent on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter, leading to the belief that there was a social hierarchy already present. These people were connected with millions of other people using existing infrastructures built by Mr. Zuckerberg. Thank you very much, Mark, for creating one of the, I just heard organism referring to Facebook in itself. And I think that's absolutely true. So by creating these networks, the students basically got their own assets to create their funding. However, the only thing which was lacking was a platform that could register potential investments being made into peers. So what we basically developed was a legal framework in which the greater public could become an equity investor for as little as 20 euros in new exciting companies, but also in existing startups. Later on, this was called by the press equity-based crowdfunding platform. We were the first in the world. we didn't knew we had developed such a solution. We were basically finding a solution for our own capital needs. But in the end, what it does, plain and simple, it's a site. Better yet, let's play a small clip. I don't know if this will work. Some technical assistance, please. There we are.
Finding capital for your business can be challenging. Banks see you as a credit risk. Business angels are scarce and have too many offers. But don't worry, there are many people who would like to invest in promising new ideas like yours. You just need to know where to find them. Register your idea, determine how much capital you need, and the equity you offer in return. Persuade others to buy a part of your company and benefit from their funding and knowledge. When your goal is reached, all investors are gathered in one legal entity, which acts as a single shareholder within your company. Soon you'll be running your own business. Investors stay involved to help you grow your company, but in the end, invest to get a financial return. Simbid enables investors to cash out at any point. So, whether you're looking for investments or early involvement into promising new startups, sign up to Simbid today.
All right, basically in short what we do. So let's take a small peek at the financial landscape and the strategic positioning, because if we're started to funding each other, or if we start doing that, we run out of funds or out of crowd quite fast. So what we try to do is place our platform within the existing structures of financing. So we started out with plain crowdfunding, friends, family and fools. Basically activate your first line network to become a shareholder. And then we figured out that there is the equity gap. To some extent, friends and family are only able to put in, say, 10, 15,000 euros at tops. And what is the bugger of this? It puts some stress on personal relationships, because in most cases, these kind of investments goes like this. Nephew goes to his uncle during the party of his aunt. Hey uncle, I have a great idea. And he starts talking, uncle gets excited, and he decides to put in 10K. What do you think happens 2 years from now? Would that birthday still be such a joy to attend? I don't think so, because we all know the numbers, and after 2 years, 6 out of 10 startups basically fail. So the odds are not in your favor as a friends and family full investor. So we started, all right, we need to bridge that equity gap by getting informal investors onto our platform, because these guys can bring in a lot of knowledge, and we can show this knowledge. We can make it searchable using hashtags. We can communicate it quite clearly, and better yet, we can educate the greater public with knowledge of business angels, and we can store it very much out there in the open on one single investment page for every ID. So what you normally see when you go to when you're raising funds for your company, you go to 1, 2, 3 funding initiatives. Basically, you go to your VC, bank, or a business angel. And all these guys look at your plan from a different angle. They do have comments. Everybody have comments, and we have all flaws. There is progress in failure, so to speak, but not if we keep that specific pain points that investors point out to us, entrepreneurs, during these investment meetings. What if we could bundle all these comments and just put them online for everybody to at least evaluate and to take a closer look at? So that's where we are right now with the platform, and of course the next step will be to involve venture capital and private equity for small portions of their portfolio, basically guaranteeing some of their investments or leveraging their investments which are in their current portfolio but do not have a strategic fit. And we're pretty far away with these negotiations. So, but for now, we mainly serve friends and family and informal investors. What is also interesting about the Simbid infrastructure is that we have decided to white label it, because we were in Holland, 16 million inhabitants, and we started a crowdfunding platform. That's not exactly the most crowded place in the world you can start your crowdfunding platform. So what we decided was, we have a good legal framework. We have an excellent IT platform. Why not just white label it to the rest of the world and basically become, to some extent, a software company rather than a financial service company? We did that, worked out pretty well. In Holland, there are over 20 platforms active. 12 of those brands are ours, running our software. And more importantly, this is not only being divided upon geography, we also tend to take complete verticals in account. So recently we've launched Gambitious.com, which is equity-based crowdfunding an equity-based crowdfunding platform specifically for the games industry, the video games industry. We're talking about project financing here, how to leverage your risk as a game developer. Yeah, I know. At least one fan in the audience today. All right. So how does this work? It's quite simple. Let's start with the beginning. You specify the amount of capital you need, and you decide the amount of equity you're willing to sell using the platform. You start pitching it to the world, or you start very slowly to invites only, which is for the most successful campaigns is being the private mode is being used excessively. Basically, we become the registering office for all these kinds of small investors who once said to you, yeah, if you're looking for money, I'm willing to participate, but never for the whole amount. And now you have a very easy tool to bundle it all. And we integrated social media to such an extent that it is a two-click share among various social networks. So you get a viral loop within your actual promotional activities, which can lead to quite interesting things. Not only capital, for example, new customers. For example, the bank who comes back says, "Hi, dear client, this is your account manager. Yeah, 2 weeks ago I told you that I wasn't going to grant you that loan. By the way, I see you're on Simbit. If you get it off this evening, I will make sure that your loan gets granted." So giving this early stage visibility urges the market to acknowledge you and to act upon it. If your ID is good, of course. There are some parameters that need to be met. For investors, it's quite simple and straightforward. You can become an equity investor for as little as 20 euros. We divide the whole equity or the whole amount, we divide it to 20 and then we divide it to the equity amount being offered by the entrepreneur. So there are variable equity percentages being linked to an investment for as little as 20 euros. More importantly, if we were to say, all right, so you now have 500 investors, you raised 100,000 euros on the Simbit platform. Woohoo! Now you have 400 investors. Good luck in your A and B rounds, because nobody will ever invest in you. So we decided to bundle all the investors into one separate legal entity. We call that an SPV in banking terms, special purpose vehicle, and we use the cooperative. Who is familiar with the cooperative setup as a corporate form? Not that many people. I'm one. All right. Then we have some evangelizing to do here. The cooperative is historically being used by agricultural entrepreneurs to bundle money in order to make large capital investments, for example, in heavy machinery, which they then could share. It is, or it can be a for-profit form. However, the most important thing is that all the members own all the complete assets of the actual cooperative. And this is exactly what we did with Simbit. There is only one asset in the company, e.g. the share percentage, and there are only members who actually decided to invest via the platform itself. And with their investment, they get access to an online collaboration environment, because we do not believe that we made a success out of an entrepreneur on our platform if they successfully raised 100,000 euros. No, then the story is just beginning. I mean, our true success is in paying out dividends or in capital gains to our investors. So that's why we put a great emphasis on the process after funding. And that's why we allow the investors and the entrepreneurs to interact with each other in a closed loop environment where they can ask each other questions, where the entrepreneur can post updates, complete news feeds can be brought into this environment. And this way you get relevant knowledge and information about the company. And this is where we turn return on investment into return on involvement and actually create a large group of investors who are all willing to think along with me because they also own the company. So here you see the complete process. You present the ID, the crowd presents or selects a proposition, the ID is being improved along the lines. And please note, you can also, before reaching the 100% funding target, you can subtract your actual investment. So we created a level playing field. Hey, entrepreneur, I don't like this and this in your business plan. I would do it like this and this. If you are willing to change it, I am willing to put in €1,000 extra. So you create a whole dynamic pre-funding in order to improve the plan. So after the funding, the crowd receives the shares, the plan gets realized, and the crowd gets updated via the collaboration environment. Are there any bankers or lawyers in the venue who think, oh my God, how did they do this? No. One, all right. Not to bore you with any kind of legal details, but we do have a we have a license from the Dutch Central Bank as well as the European Central Bank to handle third parties' money. We also are able to allow investors to redeem their funds, so they can subtract their money directly into their own banking account. And if we're going to take a look at the securities we sell online, we have a no class action letter from the authorities financial markets within Holland. So we tend to be in close contact with the regulators. And if we take a look at the benefits for investors, you get profits from dividends and capital gains on the shares. You have voting rights in the executing entity, which are all carried out online. There's only one transaction per fully funded ID, which saves your notary considerable amount of time not signing in 400 different people. And we can finance up to 2.5 million euros using this structure on an annual basis. So this is kind of a technical, this is also on the side, so I won't bore you with this. The banking license is very much pivotal to our existence, as we are in general making regulators their job quite hard, because any kind of regulatory body who emphasizes financial oversight, the actual laws are not equipped to handle online equity investments. So we're always operating in a very gray area. That's where the banking license provides us a clear stamp of approval by the authorities. So, good story, Korstiaan. Now please tell me, how much did you fund it last year? So here we have an overview of 9 of our success stories. You see the amount of investors, and the actual equity percentage given away. So, but I don't like to read up bullet points, so I took the liberty of summing it up for you. 935,000 euros successfully funded since December 2011. This is activated money. If we take a closer look at the money on the platform, we're talking about an excess of 1.4 million euro. Which is there, up for grabs. So let's take a can I have the second movie? Let's take a closer look at the kind of companies we fund.
We are a network of young entrepreneurial people, young professionals, creatives, students and entrepreneurs that share our creative minds, network and expertise to contribute to a sustainable world. Together we scout and generate wow ideas for innovative and sustainable entrepreneurship worldwide. Our core business is to make your ideas happen. Ideas that offer profitable solutions for planet and people, that are inspiring, scalable, and innovative. Are you a future decision maker? Ambitious and a pioneer? Join our network and become part of the change. What we do: inspire the clubbing scene, the Sustainable Dance Club, move the Asian taxi driver, hybrid tuk-tuk, hybrid auto rickshaws. Inspired? Get involved to make it happen. Share your network. Brainstorm. Join workshops. Do your internships, thesis. Get your company or university involved. you have a wow idea? Let's see if we can make your idea into a business. Get an inspiring workspace, business development support, access to our network and partners.
All right. MVU, a sustainable incubator we've funded successfully for an amount of 100,000 euros. So we have some pretty exciting companies we've funded so far. But let's relate it to the actual marketplace. I've selected for you 4 of the fastest growing high-tech companies, US-based. And my question to you is, what if we had funded 20 euros in the first public offering of these companies? So we're talking about the first registered A round, for example, of LinkedIn. What if we were allowed to invest 20 euros back then? And that was 03, if I'm not mistaken. So anybody care to guess? An investment of 20 euro, what would be the value today if we were to put 20 euros into LinkedIn in their first A round? I see you guys as the expert panel, huh? Yeah, so from the audience. Make an educated guess. 100,000, all right. It's an ambitious first call. Anyone else? No? All right, let's check. 20 euros would have yielded you almost 7,000 euros right now in actual value. What about Microsoft? Same, 100,000. Yeah, that could well be in. How much? 12,000. We're getting more modest here. We're getting reasonable. 2,900 euros and 60. Twitter, maybe the experts. First A round. It was Peter T. Was it Peter Thiel? Yeah, I think so. 20 euros in Twitter. What would it been worth today? I think the value of Twitter right now is at 1.5 billion. No, we're talking about the first angel round, or at least a known round on VentureBeat, for example, or 10,000? 7,200, which is quite a reasonable investment. Let alone, we're talking about 20 euros invested, huh? All right, so we also, of course, have an outlier there. Yeah, and the outlier is something special. It's 20 euros into Facebook, and please note, I used the first actual stock market price. So if you have a certain amount in your head, divided by 2 for the actual value right now. How much? 3 digits. Yeah. 20 grand? Some of the younger entrepreneurs? Who has a business ID? Who dreams of Mark Zuckerberg at night? Ladies, I see you laughing. No? All right. The expert panel, maybe? It's gonna blow you away, really. It's like, whoa. Your investment would have been worth 240,000 euros. Current stock price discounted would be like 120,000 euros, which still is quite reasonable. All right, so let me wrap it up here. I actually have 2 surprises for you guys. First of all, the conclusion: we facilitate all entrepreneurship. We enable a new and powerful funding mechanism. We empower the rise of a whole new asset class on a global scale. Now for the good things. When you are invited in our country, you mostly bring gifts. And as we are at the Global Entrepreneurship Week, we have the Get in the Ring competition tomorrow. And we create some excellent services to help aspiring entrepreneurs come to a good business plan or evaluation. I have here 3 tickets for a free valuation report done by our automated valuation service, Equidem. I will leave them here. The first 3 entrepreneurs who put this on their Facebook with a Greek newsletter on and put a hashtag @Equidem and are selected can send in their financials and get back a full report which you can use with investors. And believe me, it's pretty damn awesome software we built there. All right, last thing, because we're quite ambitious.
We're counting down.
Can I have the last movie, please? This is a new product, a new idea, which is going live in January. The other. The last one. Sorry, guys. This. Yeah.
This week, the Dutch company PAL-V announced the first flights of its prototype flying car. This unique vehicle is called the PAL-V-1, or the Personal Air and Land Vehicle, and it marks the start of a new era. On the ground, the vehicle drives like a sports car. Within minutes, its rotor is unfolded and its tail is extended. Then it is ready to take off thanks to the advanced gyrocopter technology. With these successful test results, it's proven that it is not only possible to build a flying car, but also that it can be done within existing international rules for both flying and driving. Having passed this important milestone, the company is now inviting investors to join them in creating the future. The next step will be the design of the first commercial production model of the PAL-V, and first deliveries are expected in 2014. For 100 years, people have been dreaming of a flying car, and many attempts have been made to realize this dream, but now it has truly become a reality.
So, what you should take away from this presentation is that from the beginning of Q1 2013, you actually can become a shareholder in a company that's going to produce the first world flying car. Thank you very much for your attention.
Very nice, very nice. Thank you. Thank you, Korstiaan.